There are machines that seem built to defy logic. Projects so bold, so raw, so far off the curve, they look like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But they were real. Vehicles designed to tackle the harshest environments on Earth, packed with the best off-road engineering, and carrying the promise of becoming the next icons of frozen trails, military deserts, and terrains where nothing else dares to go. But what happens when all of that goes down the drain? What happens when a brilliant idea gets canceled, forgotten, or shelved, even when it had everything to succeed? Why did some of the most promising off-road vehicles simply vanish? You're about to embark on a nostalgic, surprising, and curiosity-fueled journey through the most insane off-road machines that were canceled, and what went wrong with each of them. Ready to discover these monsters that never got the spotlight they deserved? Stick with me till the end, because the last one on this list is a true legend that still got canceled. Hummer HX 2008. Unveiled as a concept in 2008, the Hummer HX came at a pivotal moment for the brand. Hummer, up to that point, stood for raw power and extreme off-road dominance. But with changing times and a shifting audience, the HX was designed to bring fresh life into the brand, targeting a younger generation without losing the brand's military DNA. Smaller and more agile than its older siblings, the HX featured a 3.6-liter V6 engine delivering around 300 horsepower. It kept a muscular stance with sharp, aggressive lines, independent suspension on all four wheels, and a full-time four-wheel drive system managed by advanced onboard controls. The idea was clear: create a modernized Hummer H4, something more urban and compact, but still brutally capable in the wild. Its appearance blended futuristic Jeep aesthetics with unmistakable Hummer H1 traits. Inside, the layout was simple but tough, made for utility and endurance. One standout feature: the roof and doors were fully removable, turning the HX into something that resembled a military-grade dune buggy, like a high-end Lego set made for grown-up adventurers. So what went wrong? The 2008 global financial crisis. With markets crashing and General Motors on the edge of bankruptcy, the HX was shelved, and the entire Hummer brand was discontinued just a year later. Sad, right? But wait until you see the next one. A hydrogen-powered beast that was built for stealth, and still got scrapped. Chevrolet Colorado ZH2 2016. In 2016, Chevrolet dared to push the boundaries of what a military-grade off-road vehicle could be. The result was the Colorado ZH2, a prototype based on the standard Colorado pickup, but completely re-engineered for extreme battlefield environments. Under the hood, instead of the traditional engine, it had a hydrogen fuel cell system. That's right, no gasoline, no diesel. This beast ran silently by generating electricity through a chemical reaction between hydrogen and oxygen. Quiet, clean, and incredibly capable, it was designed to move through rugged terrain with full-time four-wheel drive, lifted suspension, and a reinforced chassis. But its greatest asset wasn't its power. It was silence. Unlike traditional combustion engines, the ZH2 was almost completely noiseless, perfect for covert missions and stealth operations, where even a distant engine hum could give everything away. Inside, it was minimalistic but cutting-edge. A digital dashboard, tactical controls, and military-grade communication systems came built-in. Outside, it had camel paint, oversized tires, and a towering stance that made it look like something out of a futuristic battlefield. So why didn't it go into production? The technology was ahead of its time, and too expensive. Hydrogen refueling stations are rare, especially in combat zones. The logistics were simply too complicated for real-world military use. And so, the ZH2 remained just a promising concept that was perhaps born too early. And if you thought that was futuristic, the next one was Japan's answer to the Hummer. But even that didn't save it. Toyota Mega Cruiser, 1995 to 2002. In 1995, Toyota revealed the Mega Cruiser, Japan's boldest attempt to rival the American Hummer H1. Initially developed for military use, it later received a civilian version, an enormous, squared-off monster with an intimidating road presence. Underneath that steel skin sat a 4.1-liter inline-four diesel engine. It wasn't built for speed, but delivered a solid 155 horsepower. With loads of torque to haul gear across frozen trails, dirt roads, and hostile terrain. Four-wheel drive was standard, with lockable differentials and independent suspension at all four corners. One remarkable feature was its four-wheel steering, incredibly rare at the time, allowing it to maneuver surprisingly well for a vehicle nearly 2.5 meters wide. Visually, it looked like a tank on wheels, boxy, bold, and unapologetically military. Inside, it was all function over form, spacious, rugged, and stripped of luxury. Everything was designed to last and to survive the harshest conditions. But only around 3,000 units were ever built. The reasons? An eye-watering price tag, dismal fuel efficiency, and a domestic market that had little interest in owning a vehicle this massive. Today, surviving megacruisers are rare collector's items, especially prized in countries like Australia and the United States. Loving this kind of content? Then join the crew. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss a new episode featuring the most extreme machines on Earth. Up next is a German prototype that nearly replaced a military legend, but quietly faded into obscurity. Volkswagen Iltis II, 1980s. In the 1980s, Volkswagen set out to replicate the success of its earlier military vehicle, the original Iltis, a model that not only served armed forces efficiently, but also directly inspired the Audi Quattro system and helped shape modern, all-wheel drive. Enter the Iltis II, a bold attempt to modernize the German Army's tactical vehicle fleet. The plan was ambitious: design a faster, more capable, and easier-to-maintain replacement for the first-generation Iltis, especially optimized for snowy regions, steep terrain, and mountain operations. This new version was supposed to be lighter and stronger, built with more advanced materials for its time. It would feature a four-cylinder gasoline engine with roughly 120 horsepower, permanent four-wheel drive, a central differential lock, and a suspension system engineered for greater stability on rough trails and tight corners. The design, however, was modest. No flashy elements, no futuristic curves, just a practical, no-nonsense military vehicle meant to work hard and stay reliable. The kind of machine that values function over form. But then came a major historical shift: the reunification of Germany and the restructuring of its military in the early 1990s. Budgets were cut, priorities shifted, and foreign defense collaborations changed everything. The Iltis II project was silently shelved before it even reached the prototype stage. Today, very few even know this project existed. It had the potential to be a key milestone in Volkswagen's off-road legacy, but instead, it became just another lost chapter in engineering history. And if you thought that was a quiet exit, the next machine looked like it came from a sci-fi blockbuster, and it's one of the wildest concepts Mercedes has ever imagined. Mercedes-Benz Ener-G-Force Concept, 2012. In 2012, Mercedes-Benz shocked the world with a concept vehicle that looked like it drove straight out of a superhero movie. But make no mistake, the Ener-G-Force was real, or at least the design was. This wild prototype was a futuristic reinterpretation of the iconic G-Class, but with a radical twist. It was envisioned to run on clean energy, using water as a source for hydrogen, then generating electricity through fuel cells. Zero emissions, maximum capability, and an unmistakable presence. Its appearance was outrageous. Massive wheels, exaggerated wheel arches, futuristic bodywork, and front headlights shaped like the letter G. Every inch of it screamed dominance. Yet, it was also designed to be environmentally friendly. A monster on the outside, but a quiet, green machine at heart. Four-wheel drive was, of course, a given. But Mercedes took it further with satellite-linked terrain sensors, advanced suspension management, and even a drone docking system that could scout routes ahead. The bad news? It was never meant for production. The Ener-G-Force was more of a design showcase. a glimpse into how the Mercedes design team envisioned the G-Class of the future. Still, fans were devastated when Mercedes confirmed that no functional version would ever be made. It lived only in car shows, concept books, and the imaginations of off-road lovers who dream of silent giants. And if you think that sounds too good to be true, the next vehicle actually existed, served in real wars, and was cancelled for being too dangerous. Ford M151, MUTT, 1959 to 1982. Nicknamed the MUTT, which stood for Military Utility Tactical Truck. The Ford M151 was born in the late 1950s to replace the aging Jeep Willys in the U.S. Army. It was meant to be light, practical, and modern, a worthy successor to a World War II legend. The M151 was powered by a 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine producing around 60 horsepower. That may not sound like much, but considering it weighed under 1,300 kilograms, the performance was surprisingly quick and responsive, especially off-road. It featured four-wheel drive and independent suspension on all four wheels, which was revolutionary at the time. This gave it superior articulation and comfort over uneven terrain, but also introduced a fatal flaw. The vehicle's rear suspension design made it dangerously prone to rollovers, especially in high-speed turns or uneven surfaces. Early models, like the M151A1, developed a notorious reputation. Despite multiple redesigns, including the safer M151A2, the vehicle never fully shook off its bad image. Still, it remained in service for over 2 decades and saw action in multiple countries and conflicts. Even today, some units are preserved in historical reenactments, parades, or private collections. Eventually, the U.S. military retired the MUTT in the early 1980s, and the vehicle was quietly written off as an engineering misstep, a real-world example of how innovation can sometimes go too far, too fast. Speaking of military replacements, the next machine was designed to be the next-generation battlefield truck, but lost the war before it even began. General BRV-O, 2013. In 2013, General, the same company behind the legendary Humvee, presented a bold new prototype to the U.S. military. The BRV-O, short for Blast-Resistant Vehicle, Off-Road. It was General's official contender in the JLTV, Joint Light Tactical Vehicle program, aimed at replacing the aging fleet of Humvees on modern battlefields. And the BRV-O? It looked like a compact tank. It had a 6.6-liter V8 diesel engine, full-time four-wheel drive, and was built from the ground up to survive modern warfare. With reinforced armor against landmines and roadside bombs, independent high-travel suspension, and enough internal space to safely transport troops, it checked nearly every box on the military's wish list. One of the key features was its V-shaped hull, designed to deflect the force of explosions downward and away from the cabin, a life-saving feature seen in modern MRAP vehicles. Add to that a modular armor system, top-tier electronics, and battlefield communication systems, and you had a next-level tactical machine. On paper, the BRV-O was a strong candidate, but in reality, it was too heavy, too expensive, and not as versatile as hoped. During rigorous testing, it underperformed in several key areas compared to its competitor, the Oshkosh LATV, which eventually won the JLTV contract and billions of dollars in military funding. Despite General's long-standing experience, the BRV-O was deemed more impressive in theory than in practice. And just like that, it became another canceled dream in the arms race of off-road engineering. By the way, if you're enjoying this journey through canceled machines, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell. Because every week we bring you insane vehicles, heavy-duty builds, and the rawest machines ever made to conquer the extremes. And now, let's jump into a time capsule from the 1980s, a vehicle packed with tech that looked like it came from the future, but never made it past the lab. Chevrolet Blazer XT1, 1987. Back in 1987, the SUV as we know it today was just beginning to take shape, and the Chevrolet Blazer XT1 was one of the most futuristic concept vehicles General Motors ever produced. way ahead of its time in design, technology, and vision. It came equipped with a 4.3-liter V6 engine, pumping out around 190 horsepower. Combined with full-time four-wheel drive and something that was almost unheard of in SUVs back then, adaptive suspension and four-wheel steering. Yes, the suspension adjusted itself to the terrain, and all four wheels could turn, allowing the XT1 to handle like a much smaller vehicle, even on rugged trails. This wasn't just a cool-looking truck. It was an engineering experiment dressed in an SUV's body. Inside, the XT1 was basically a spaceship. Futuristic steering wheel, full digital displays, touch controls, and retractable switches gave it a dashboard straight out of science fiction. The exterior? Bold lines, pop-up headlights, modular bumpers, and an aerodynamic shape that made it look nothing like the boxy SUVs of the era. But despite its promise, the XT1 never saw the light of day. The tech was simply too far ahead, and production costs would have been astronomical. Plus, in the late 80s, the market just wasn't ready for such a radical SUV. It was a decade too soon. Today, the XT1 survives only in photos, concept car archives, and the imagination of gearheads who love the what-ifs of automotive history. But if you think that was bold, wait till you see the next vehicle, a strange little SUV that hit the streets, confused everyone, and still became a cult classic. Suzuki X-90, 1995 to 1997. In the mid-1990s, Suzuki took a huge swing with one of the most unconventional vehicles ever made. The idea? Combine the look and feel of a sporty coupe with the practicality and agility of a small SUV. The result was the Suzuki X-90, a compact two-door oddball that would baffle the world. It had a 1.6-liter four-cylinder engine producing about 95 horsepower, with rear-wheel drive by default, and an optional four-wheel drive system. The suspension was simple but surprisingly effective, making it agile and light, especially in urban environments or light off-road use. But the styling? That's where things went off the rails. The X-90 had a T-top removable roof, a stubby rear end, and a body shape that looked like a toy car on steroids. It was part coupe, part SUV, part hatchback, and totally confusing to the average buyer. Despite decent performance and a quirky charm, the vehicle flopped commercially. Most people didn't know how to categorize it. Was it a sporty mini SUV? A weekend trail runner? A fun commuter car? Its identity was all over the place, and that hurt its sales. Only around 7,000 units were sold in the US, and the model was discontinued in under 2 years. But time has a funny way of changing things. Today, the X-90 is a beloved cult classic, collected by enthusiasts who admire its boldness and sheer weirdness. And now, we've reached the final machine, a true legend, a warrior of the desert, snow, and battlefield, revered by fans around the world. And still, it got shut down. General Hummer H1, 1992 to 2006. Few vehicles have defined off-road dominance like the General Hummer H1. Born directly from the military-grade Humvee, which earned its stripes in the Gulf War and beyond, the H1 was unleashed to civilians in 1992 and instantly became a symbol of power, status, and rugged engineering. Its core was a massive 6.5-liter V8 turbo diesel engine, producing between 190 and 215 horsepower depending on the version. But more importantly, it delivered earth-shaking torque. The H1 could climb 60% gradients, wade through half a meter of water, and tackle the kind of terrain that would stop most vehicles dead. With permanent four-wheel drive, locking differentials, independent suspension with double control arms, and a central tire inflation system controlled from inside the cabin, it was a rolling fortress. The H1 looked like it came from a battlefield, because it did. Wide, low, and muscular, with oversized tires and steel for days, it dwarfed anything else on the road. It quickly became the ultimate off-road flex, and the ride of choice for celebrities like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who helped push it into pop culture. So what went wrong? It was massively inefficient. Fuel consumption was atrocious, often around 4 kilometers per liter. And its massive size made it impractical in city driving. Add high maintenance costs and increasing environmental criticism, and by 2006, the H1 was officially discontinued. It remains a legend to this day, a symbol of both the height of off-road engineering and the excesses of its time. Ironically, it helped pave the way for the modern SUV boom, while also marking the end of an era. Today, we looked back at 10 off-road machines that had everything it takes to conquer frozen trails, deserts, and the harshest terrains on the planet. But for one reason or another, whether market failures, design flaws, or simply being ahead of their time, they ended up canceled. These were vehicles that dared to push boundaries, that challenged conventional thinking, and that lit the imaginations of engineers and enthusiasts alike. But despite all their promise, they were shelved, forgotten, or abandoned, left behind by a fast-moving industry and changing priorities. Yet even in their failure, they left a mark. They became legends not for what they accomplished, but for what they represented. Bold ideas, untamed ambition, and the endless human desire to build something that could go where no road leads. And now I want to hear from you. Which of these machines would you love to own? Which one surprised you the most? And which one do you think truly deserved a second chance in the off-road world? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one and always try to reply when I can. And of course, if you're into this kind of content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and turn on the notification bell. Because every week we bring you the most brutal machines that dominate ice, snow, and the most unforgiving extremes. See you in the next video.